Hi, I'm Natasha with Bear Talk TV. There have been countless protests across the country. March for Our Lives is all about gun control, and what we're seeing is this sort of like emergence of this new generation of youth who are really pissed off with their government and want to make a change. And these marches are happening all across the states, in Toronto and Montreal. So what do you think? I mean, I feel like something's actually going to change this time, which I don't often feel with marches.
No, that's true. I do love it because I think a lot of the time when you're a kid, not all the time obviously, you think like, oh, I can't, I'm not an adult, I don't have the power to do this, like maybe we should just be quiet. But these kids are like, fuck it, like we're pissed. This happened to us and no one's protecting us. So we're gonna get together and we are going to talk until we're finally heard. And I'm like, yes, like preach. Yeah. I love that.
On Twitter, Emma Gonzalez, who's sort of become like the figurehead for this movement. So she was one of the students out of Florida.
Yeah.
They're on the cover of Time now, and she has now been putting like her video experiences of, you know, healing. And the other students are also doing this as well, which I think, you know, it's in your fucking face. Like this is what has happened to children in our schools, and there's still school shootings happening in the US every day. Things are actually going to change now.
Well, often change happens very, very slowly. So I hope this change is faster. But we have seen after the Florida shooting, there are small changes happening in Florida for legislation. Not big enough, but even just something small as increasing the age where you have to be to buy a gun. That's not good enough, but it is something, and that wouldn't have happened without these types of marches and without these people being involved. I think what makes this different is we have teenagers now taking action, like you said. They're getting off of their whatever they do like this, and they're actually marching in the streets saying, "I had to hide under that desk. And I had to watch somebody die, and that's not okay anymore. It's not okay for adults to say we can still sell guns in the same way that we always have." And I like what kids are doing. I respect our youth. I like when they take a stand for something, and they're only a couple years away from voting, and that is what is going to change.
And that's the most exciting part of this whole thing.
It is, and I don't know how much legislation or laws are going to change necessarily, but what we do know is people that support those types of laws are going to be voted out soon. We know that because look at this new movement of voters who are almost of age.
It's almost like what happened with Obama, where, because we know who goes to vote. It's the old and gray who go and vote. But now we're going to see similar, like with what we did with Obama, is young people are going to show up to the polls. They're going to leave Twitter and actually show up to the polls and show what they feel with their vote, which I think is really amazing. And even around things like gun control, I mean, I like shooting guns for sport. I don't hate guns, but I also don't agree that I should own a machine gun. And I think that the Americans need to let go of their Second Amendment rights and realize that that law was written into a time when you needed to protect yourself against the government, which now you need to protect yourself against the government, but for much different reasons.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's so true. And it, like you said, these kids can't vote yet. They don't have a say. And it would piss me off too if I was in school, someone shooting it up, I'm like, you older people, old and gray, whatever, you know, you were saying before, are voting to say that people can have guns and now I could lose my life.
Right.
So I do love, I think that's so great that they're just standing up and being like, you know what, who cares? We can't vote, but this is what we're gonna do.
Well, I hope it continues because the only way it can make a difference is if this keeps happening until there is change. If it's just this week and then it goes away, well, there's not going to be change. Like people who can make these changes are going to see how serious is this generation. Is it something they're doing for 2 weeks and then we're going to just kind of move away from it? So I really, really hope that it helps. It's interesting too that we have some Canadian cities who at this point are not faced with this threat. I'm not saying we're totally safe, but we're not faced with as great a threat as they are in the US. But we have Canadian cities who are marching to the US consulates in their city with this same message so that they can do something to help people their age in high schools in America.
Standing as one.
Absolutely.
Unity.
And even though they're not doing this for themselves here, they're doing it for people they've never met before in their cities. And that is what we need to see more of.
Yeah,
I think it's beautiful, and we're sending all of our thoughts to everyone who's marching, and I hope that, like we've said, this movement actually creates some real change and encourages all young people to go and vote. So I'm Natasha with Bear Talk TV. Let us know what you think by following us on all the links below.